Welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg, and I thank you very much for being here today. Today's guest is Michael Sechos. I'm very excited to jump in and have this conversation. Anybody who, well, you're going to see all of his information in the show notes anyway, but I'm going to pass it straight over to him, give us a bit of a history, a bit of a background, and then we'll just let it flow as we always do. So, my man,
Yeah,
take it
no,
away.
thanks for having me, Josh. So hi everyone. Hi to all listeners. My name is Hybrid Coach Mike on Insta, or Michael Sechos is my government name, but otherwise, yeah, as the name says, I'm a hybrid coach. I've been doing this for a few years now in terms of like hybrid coaching in particular. But my background is as an exercise physiologist, kind of did all that, the formal study kind of side of things at uni, maybe finished that 7 years ago now. And then basically went from that, pretty much realized I didn't want to work with, I don't know if anyone even knows what an exercise physiologist is, but it's a fancy name for like a health professional personal trainer, in my opinion. I realized I didn't really want to work with people that were not that keen on exercising or in clinical based settings. So then I kind of pivoted towards doing more exercise rehab stuff. This is kind of before I even started running, and I was just doing strength training at the time. And then that slowly progressed into powerlifting. And then over the last few years, like everyone else under the sun, I've slowly taken up this hybrid kind of arc, however you want to call it, like every other man in his 30s. And I think that's it. Like pretty much since then, I've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm loving it. And I coach people to do the same. And touch wood, everyone's loving it as well. So I can't complain.
Yeah, it's a pretty fucking, it's a slippery slope. Once you hit the back end of 20s and you start to come into your 30s, you're like, yeah, maybe I should focus on a bit of my heart health as well
Yeah,
and actually get the
yeah,
body moving.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
super
yeah.
interesting with what you sort of mentioned about the EP route. So funnily enough, I studied XI and I was doing it was supposed to be a 4-year degree, and I was eventually going to end up with a master's in clinical EP,
Mm,
and got about 2.5 years in, was coming into like locking in for the next year, doing our interviews for the masters and everything like that. And the head of the whole department just looked at me and goes, "Do you actually want to work with like injured people who don't really want to train?"
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
at this time, I'd already been coaching for 5 years. I was working with powerlifters at like quite a high level. I'd taken lifters to national, worlds, everything. And I was just like, nah, no, I really don't actually. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm getting out of this degree as soon as I can.
yeah, yeah. It was funny because when I like part of the reason why I did it was because I was always keen on like learning more about exercise as a whole and just like even the background stuff. Like I would never have gone and probably studied physiology as much as I did if it wasn't for the fact that I had to do it at uni. But
Mm.
I realized close towards the end of me finishing the degree that I was like, I don't think this is kind of what I want to actually do in terms of who I want to work with. Although it was very rewarding in its own way. Like one of the places I worked at was at a hospital. We're doing like cardiac rehab, which is like essentially just helping people get back to full fitness after they've had heart attacks, anything related to the heart that you can kind of imagine. And it was rewarding doing that because you're literally changing people's lives, like in the most like health conscious way, like getting them going from not even being able to get out of a chair puffed out to then being able to walk comfortably on a treadmill with you for like 20 minutes, no problem, which was like dead set life changing. And I appreciated that for what it was. And it kind of allowed me to, appreciate my degree for all it taught me. But after a little while, I just
Mm.
wanted to get people to lift heavy. And like, when you're working with uh clinical populations like that, like there's so much red tape around trying to get them to do stuff like that, not just because of what people tell you to do, but a lot of these people have this preconceived idea of what they're supposed to be doing. um and they in rehab settings, people think everything has to look like rehab, like, oh, it's just light, la la la. And I kind of got over that narrative of working with people where I'm trying to change the dialogue and educate them that we can't go light forever, like we got to go a little bit heavier at some point, or you're not injured
Mm.
anymore. um or I'll be talking to their case managers on the phone, and their case managers are like, because maybe they're a work compensation claim or something. I'm not sure how it works down in Melbourne, but in Sydney, they could be like a workers' compensation kind of thing, and their case manager's like, why aren't they back to work? And I'm like, I don't know. They're all good on my end, but they're still saying they have symptoms. So some of these people didn't want to actually get better, in some ways. And I was eventually like, I don't think this is for me. But fortunately, similar to you, I was already working as a PT, and I think I just kind of doubled down on that, and then niched a little bit, and yeah, now we're here for the most part.
Yeah, it's exactly that at the end of the day and that was one of the things, one of our lecturers, because of that pathway with the masters. So the way it worked at our uni, I did this up on the Gold Coast at SCU, is the last year of the exercise science degree, our electives were actually the first year of the EP degree.
Right.
So we were essentially getting a jump. That's why it only was 12 months rather than the 2 years that would have been normal.
Mm.
And one of our lecturers, his name's John O'Freeman. He has like a whole bunch of gyms across Australia, works with people like Chris Hemsworth, Zac Efron, etc. He had been trying to shift the narrative for so long. And he quite literally said, he's like, the only reason I've stuck around doing uni lecturing is because I need to tell you guys that the way through this is strength training. Stop your
Yeah.
fucking, like, do your table drills, do that sort of shit, get the people assessed. But they need to be doing strength training. They need to be building that strength long term to actually get any form of meaningful progression from this. And
Yeah.
that was essentially what he was trying to do to like really shift that narrative from the rehab setting to training as we know it.
Yeah. 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 And then just for the inverse of kind of what we're talking about now, then there were also some people in my cohort who like didn't really have much exercise background, but kind of went into this thinking that it would teach them how to do exercise properly. But then I was like, you kind of get these conflicting feelings over, we're trying to teach people to be healthy, but then some of the people in my cohort or around us, even my supervisors and stuff, weren't necessarily healthy people either. And I'm like, and then
Mm,
how are people going to listen to us if we don't know how to teach them to be healthy, or we're trying to teach this person to squat, but you've never seen a barbell in your life. Like it got weird like that. And then it kind of made me have my own ideas where it's like, I feel like this is somewhat of a fancy PT degree for people that maybe aren't even that passionate about exercise. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I sound a little bit negative,
Dude,
like saying
100%.
saying that, but it's kind of what I noticed amongst the people I was around. Um,
Yeah.
but look, then there were some guys who were absolute champions as well. But yeah, it was real mixed bag, real mixed bag.
Yeah. Exactly that. That was the biggest thing I found too. And I started to voice this towards the back end of my degree, especially when I was mixing with some of these students in these classes who were literally about to graduate. Like they were a few weeks away from graduation. They were going to be full clinical EPs, working within the community, working with these people. And they were still asking some very basic training questions. And they didn't really know exercises. They only really knew the rehab ones. And
Yeah,
I was getting very conflicted as well because exactly that, like a lot of my lecturers, I had some really good lecturers and then I had other lecturers who would just, you could tell that they had quite literally spent their entire life, their whole professional life in the university. They hadn't
yeah,
actually
clinic.
worked with real people.
Yeah,
And from that regards, I was working with people every single day. And I was talking to these lecturers and stuff and bringing them through my ideas. And I did a lot of external study, a lot of mentoring, a lot of coaching, a lot of all these things with like different people from around the world and was bringing them things from like Mark Israel and RP strength and all of that. And they were essentially just being like, oh no, that's not real. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, okay, so your notes that like, it's just a textbook that you've got that was written 30 years ago versus people who are actually in the industry who are actively studying and working within this all practically and looking at it from a different lens and everything like that. And I just started to get very off put, and it was exactly that, like XI. I mean, you said EP is pretty much PT. X science is pretty much just a PT degree. That's all you can really do with it once you finish,
yeah,
is
yeah.
unless you want to go and work in a lab and be a lab tech.
Yeah, or like some people like that I went through uni with, like they knew they wanted to work in hospital based settings with people that couldn't really do a lot anyway. Um, And you know what? They knew that from the start. And I was like, power to you, go do that. Like, that's awesome. But for me, I knew, okay, I want to be with people that are keen to exercise, which means I need to be exercising, which I was anyway, but it wouldn't make sense for me not to have experience about the gym and different stuff in the gym and stuff like you said, like, not necessarily just Mike Israel, but that whole world of knowledge that's out there with all other online coaches and people that are out there, anyone, you name it. I'm like, this is also important to me, yet it doesn't matter clearly to the uni because, they've got whatever their criteria is of what they need to teach people. But I think the main thing was I just felt out of touch with it, which by the sounds of it, you did too. And I think low key, probably majority of the people going through the degree today, I don't know about today or at that time did as well. Yeah, because there's other people I went to uni with that also ended up being coaches and whatever as well. So yeah, everyone kind
Oh,
of pivoted
exactly.
in their
Yeah.
own direction. Yeah.
You kind of have to, I think, at the end of the day. And like realistically, as pretty much similar to what you said, I'm very grateful for what I did learn at uni that I wouldn't have necessarily dived a bit deeper on from the physiology side, from
Mm,
all of that sort of different, there's those different lenses to actually look at things through from the clinical setting. That's definitely helped integrate stuff into my work as a whole. But then when it really came down to it, I was like, okay, cool. And I mean, you probably know this yourself is like, the more clients we continue to work with and the more we start to expand our worldview that way, and we're practically seeing the results of what is actually happening right in front of us in real time and
yeah.
how people are attaining results and all the rest of it. It's like, okay, sick. Like we'll just continue to run with our methodology, and some aspects we can integrate, some things we just probably never use again. And that is what it is. I got a piece of paper and it sits on the corner of my floor in my office and I don't do anything with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to have, but it's good to have. It's expensive, but it was
yeah,
good to have.
it's a fucking oath it is. It looks cool in the corner.
Yeah.
The transition to powerlifting. So were you doing more of like a bodybuilding style approach before you transitioned to powerlifting, or how did that come about?
It's funny. So so I've been in a gym since I was 13 or 14 years old, right? So I was just got super into weight training when I was really young. Not that I had any idea what I was doing back then, nor were the older dudes that I was learning from when I was that young, did they know what they were doing? Everyone was just doing whatever. But then I was probably 17, so I had been training now for at least 3-ish years. And I was like, I want to try out this whole strength training thing. And I think at that time, this is when I was 17, I think it was 2011 or 2010. Lane Norton came out with that. I don't know if you know this. I think it was like not anyways, like this Lane Norton gym program that was basically like this power building program, like the first one that kind of got published on bodybuilding.com. And at that time, Lane Norton was the biggest guy, the biggest deal. And he released this program. And I remember doing sets of 5 for the first time, which were just completely foreign to me, and I was doing like all these heavy compound lifts and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Obviously because, in the beginning you get those newbie gains when you kind of haven't really done anything with the barbell properly. So not that I was doing it well, by the way, like my form was, I don't have any videos of it back then, but it was shocking 100%. And then that kind of led me to, okay, maybe I should go try out a gym that is a strength training gym as opposed to like kind of like my local one. And one of the popular ones here in Sydney, at the time, I think there's still a couple around, was one called Adonis. I don't know if you've heard of Adonis before.
Yeah.
The coach there was Amir Fazeli. I just literally rocked up one day with my friends on a Saturday and said, hey, I want to try out the gym. I want to try out this whole strength training thing. And then kind of he coerced me into giving like powerlifting a bit more of a go and like getting on a program and stuff after I signed up. I pretty much never looked back. So yeah, and then I was doing like powerlifting and strongman for, I want to say 10 years before I started running. So I went for my first official run in like 23, I'm pretty sure. So 3 years
Holy
ago now, and
shit.
that's nonstop ever since. Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy, but
So you,
yeah.
you didn't really have like much of the history growing up as a kid doing running or playing sport in that regards then?
I did. I played, at a decent level competitive soccer.
Yep.
But I stopped that by the time I was 16. So I pretty much wasn't really doing much running, just gym stuff other than like school sport. from like 16, 17 onwards. So yeah, virtually no running from about 2012 till about 2023. Yeah,
Fuck, that's a
no running
decent time off.
whatsoever. Yeah. And similar to you, the reason why I started running was I was sitting on my couch at home with my missus. I was about 104 kilos, I think, at the time. Mind you, I was a mid powerlifter anyway. I was just unhealthy. Um, and
Feels.
I was sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm listening to myself breathe. Everything I did, I could just listen to myself breathe. And I'm just like, I'm just constantly, I feel like, when you just have that, you just feel kind of bloated. I don't know what do you,
Oh yeah.
puffiness.
Yeah.
Um, I just had that about me everywhere I went. I walked with like my feet heaps externally rotated. My back was always jacked up. I just never felt good, essentially, is what I'm trying to say here. And then my missus and I made it like a New Year's resolution thing where we were going to make sure we go for at least 2 to 3 walks on weeknights after work during the week. And then one day I said to her, hey, do you mind if I just try and run for 5 minutes on this walk instead of just walking with you around the oval that we used to walk around? She's like, sure, I'll bring my headphones. You go run. Dead set. I have, I think, a video of my first or second run still to this day on my phone of just me running around a track for 5 minutes. Then the next time I went back, I did 6 minutes and I just kept adding 1 minute every time I went until I eventually got up to like 30 minutes. And then I was like, okay, the next goal is to try run for an hour. And I didn't even know what Strava was at this time. I didn't know what pace was. I didn't know that was a thing. I was still running in my like shoes that I just wore every day. I didn't know you had to get like certain running shoes. I was just running on grass only because I'm like, maybe this will be easier for me because I'm so big. Fortunately, like I kind of understood everything physiologically in terms of what needed to happen because I had finished uni at that time. So I knew like, all about the energy systems and, how to program at least a little bit if I wanted to improve my fitness.
Mm.
Not the nuanced side of things, but at least I had a basis. And then I just kind of knew if I just keep running for longer, I'm sure I'll just get fitter. And that's all I kept on doing. And then next thing I know, I was like, I think I ran my first, it was either my first 10K or my first 60-minute run. And I was like, you know what? I want to try to do a half marathon by the end of this year. So I set a goal of doing a half marathon in like 5 or 6 months time. And then, yeah, next thing I know, like that's it. It's been history ever since.
Fuck, that's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really. It's honestly, it's very similar to myself. I was at my peak. I got to 122 kilos, so I was
Oh,
like a
wow.
big.
That's
Yeah, I was a
huge.
big.
How tall are you,
I
by
was a
the
big
way?
boy. Six
Yeah. How
two.
tall are you, by the Okay. So you're taller than me, but
Six.
that's still
Yeah.
massive heavy. Yeah. 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 That's big.
Yeah, I was a big boy, and I hadn't necessarily like run properly since I was about 17 as well. Similar thing. Once I stopped playing footy, I maybe did a few runs. Like I did a little bit of fitness stuff when I was doing some calisthenics in my like early 20s. But then as soon as I shifted to powerlifting, that was it for me. And I had the exact same thing you were discussing, like the external walk. Funnily enough, when I was at uni, they wanted to use me as a model for gait of how not to walk. And my
Right.
uni lecturer was obsessed with my walk because he was like, he's like, dude, I just don't get how you get anywhere
Yeah.
because you waddle. Like you waddle, you don't
Sorry.
rotate, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, my first run back after like 12 years of no running. And I think my first run, I was about 113 kilos because I decided I was going to go back and play footy last year. So this first run back was only the end of 2024. Um, I ran 900 meters and felt like I was going to go into cardiac arrest. And I was like, oh, fuck, this
Yeah.
is going to be a long battle. And then
Yeah.
just slowly, like a kilometer, then two. And then I was trying to do 2 by 2 per week. And I ended up with shin splints and all that shit, as you can imagine, from not running and being
Yeah.
just so externally rotated. My shins last year playing football were horrendous. So I couldn't really build much running capacity in that either. And then it wasn't until probably would have been September, October last year where I really started sort of just getting back in. And I could only run about 5Ks a week before my shins would blow up and I couldn't do fuck all.
Yeah.
So it's been only really since September last year that I've been building this back. And similar thing, I remember running my first 10K and talking to someone at the gym and I was like, oh, I'm never going to need to run 10K. Like, what's the fucking point? And then I ran it and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't like too bad. It sucked, but it wasn't too bad. And then I went on to run, like segmentally build it up. I ran 13. And then when I moved down here to Melbourne, um, just going through fucking shit, I was like, I just went running one day and ran 22 Ks. And my feet were fucked for a week. Like I was so in so much pain.
Mm,
But then since then, I've just been slowly building it back. I ran 22 Ks in, and my only goal when I did that was to just run it in under 2 hours for a charity run not that long ago. And that was the end of May. And I did it in like 150, 1 hour 57. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's
nice.
actually, I've built up a bit of this running capacity now. And
Yeah, yeah, you got somewhere. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and then it was
100%.
sub 50, 10, sub 50-minute 10K was the next goal. Um, And then obviously the next goal again is like the sub 25K, which I ran at like
Yeah,
17, but 50 kilos lighter basically. So
yeah, yeah. Look, it makes a little bit of a difference, I reckon.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
You know
it's
what's
just
funny
been
about what
interesting.
yeah, you know what's funny about what you said? I think a lot of people don't realize that you're like most people are, unless you're extremely unhealthy, like like beyond more like morbidly obese type of stuff. That's different, but the average person is probably fitter than they realize. Like I think most people could probably
Mm,
do a 5 or 10K run, even if you're untrained. But the thing that usually messes most people up, and it's by the sounds of it, the same thing that got you and has gotten so many people that I coach, is like it's not their fitness that lets them down first. It's the tissue tolerance. Like their shins are blowing
mm,
up, their calves are killing them, their knee gives out, their hips, like whatever it is. There's something else that is normally the factor that stops them from running. They're normally puffed out, but they can keep going if they go slow enough. But, you can't beat the pain in the shin, the ankle or foot, whatever they've got going on. So that's what takes a little bit more time to develop. I think most people underrate how fit they are. If they're, the average powerlifter who's been training, yes, you probably have shit cardio, but I guarantee if I told you to run at, close to 9 minute pace to do a 5K, I think you'd be able to do it. I think they'd be able to surprise
mm.
themselves. I'm not saying it'd be easy, but they could be able to do it. But yeah, it's just more so how do the legs pull up after or during. I think that holds most people back. That's what definitely got me in the beginning as well. Like just similar thing to you, shins, ankles, all that kind of stuff is what was probably holding my fitness back more than anything.
Yeah, 100%. And like similar to yourself, as you said, like you had enough understanding of the physiology and enough understanding of the energy systems and things like that. I knew that, okay, I can't necessarily really build my fitness with running right now, but I can do it on a bike. I can go and do all these other
Mm,
modalities that'll actually allow me to actually build that aerobic capacity. And that was the exact thing I found, is that my running was not limited by my fitness, which I think helped me psychologically, because I wasn't puffed out and my heart rate wasn't just through the fucking roof. It was at the very start, but it wasn't towards the back end. And it's just that it's exactly that. It's like, okay, understanding there's a barrier to entry, and you kind of need to pay the price of what you've been doing for however many years to allow yourself to facilitate building that up. And sometimes it can be a little bit slower. Um, I mean, I ran that 22K charity race at 100 kilos on the dot,
wow.
and I was like, sweet, like I'm pretty happy with this pace at this size. It's like it's not too bad for me.
Yeah, yeah,
But having that background of sport, I think definitely helps in regards to like just knowing. I think it's more so the psychological aspect of like knowing that I could do it because I'd done it previously, which is where I see a lot of clients, they get caught up in. I'm sure you're probably the same. There's a lot of clients who maybe not haven't necessarily done things like that themselves in the past. So they're actually limited by both the physicality and then although the mentality, because it's like, oh, well, I've never done this. So
yeah,
this is above what I think I can achieve,
yeah,
even though they're very likely that they could just achieve it. And I worked that out with running. When I did that first half marathon, I just should not have done it. But I was just like, okay, cool, next light pole.
yeah,
And just mentally
yeah.
was just kept going.
Yeah, you can keep doing it. Yeah, 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 yeah. When you say footy, by the way, I know you're in Melbourne. Do you mean AFL or rugby league?
Yeah, AFL, sorry. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
lived
so
in Queensland for like nearly 20 years, but I went back to play
right.
AFL.
Yeah, because AFL dudes are like that's insane fitness, right? Like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like those guys are freaks, and they're jumping like kangaroos all over the place.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. Nowadays, it's a little bit less common because the way the interchange is set up and structured and things like that. But when I was
Right.
growing up, it wasn't uncommon for midfielders to run 18 to 22 Ks a game
Wow.
every game. So they
That's
were doing
huge.
that,
Yeah.
once a week, and then they're training on
Yeah.
top and things like that. And these guys were doing
Yeah.
it at stop, start, getting tackled, change direction, sprint, slow. Like there's fucking, it's intense. And that, yeah, last year going back to play that, I just played Div 2 Resis. Like the coach hit me up at the start because I was still quite big. He's like, man, we'll sit you down front or this. I was like, brother, I'm going to the Resis. I don't want to be responsible for shit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want to play. I just want to get around something. I want to get back around a team sport and have that community
Yeah.
based aspect. But yeah, my shins just fucking hated it, especially with all the jumping because there's so much more jumping in AFL than
Oh,
rugby
heaps.
or soccer.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing was like, and the change of direction was just cool. I had no change of direction. Someone would like zip and they would just cut in front of me and I'd kind of make this big beeline around them to try and chase them down.
Yeah, it's like a semi truck trying to do a U-turn. You're like, I'm coming. I'm gonna get ya. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be a little while there, but I'm gonna get ya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
But
why I stick to things where I don't have to turn. That's why I just run. Everything in a straight line I can do. Slight turns at slow paces I can do, but don't ask me to sprint or anything like that. Yeah, nah. Or change direction quickly. It's not gonna happen. If anything, I'm just asking for my ACL to spontaneously combust, to be honest.
yeah, exactly. It's again, it's understanding your limits, right? Like you've been able to
Mm.
build, and I want to touch on it as well with what you've just done and sort of where you've been working towards and things like that. It's just as long as people do understand that, and I think we have seen this massive resurgence of hybrid style of training. Like so many people want to get into their running, and they haven't ran for longer than both of us combined. Basically, some people have never run their entire life, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go sign up to a half marathon."
Yeah,
And all of these little things, and they're just like they don't understand, which is sometimes a good thing because they don't actually understand what the limits are. They just kind of
yeah,
do the thing.
yeah,
And then other people run into all those issues that you mentioned before, and it's trying to navigate that and also encourage people that they're even when they have all these little niggles and things like that, that there is other ways they can actually still continue to improve
yeah, yeah.
with
I
their
think the thing
strength
that,
training.
yeah, I think the thing that gets most people probably, like you said, a lot of people are signing up to half marathons now, marathons, whatever. High rocks is huge. People want to get amongst it. But the difference is between the people that are just getting it done and the people that are actually, maybe not necessarily taking it to a high level, but, like doing quite well, compared to others is just how much of it can you like how much suffering can you handle for the most part, how much time can you allocate towards it. And the biggest thing I get through to most of my clients or the people that want to do races and stuff like that is the race itself probably isn't going to be the hard, like it's going to be hard, but I don't think that's going to be the thing that gets you down. The thing that's going to get you is the training leading up to it, sacrificing your Sunday mornings and then or Sundays, and then you're going to feel like shit all day afterwards because you're super tired after doing the long run, or saying no to those social events that you got coming up because, you got to train the next day. It's like, you're training for something now. So sometimes these sacrifices need to be made, and people don't realize how many sacrifices need to get made in the lead up to some of these, harder
Mm.
physical challenges. I've got a lot of people who get away with doing bare minimum and doing a half marathon. That's fine. But then, you get people who think, oh, doing a marathon is going to be easy. And it's like, dude, you got to respect the distance. Running a marathon and training for a marathon are not easy at all. There's a reason why not a lot of people do it. And it's only really getting more popular now because the internet, I feel like, has sensationalized these things, probably much to the running community's dismay. But yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the training thing that gets a lot of people more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big commitment, and that's like I train at a gym down here, Hurt Locker, and a lot of the guys down there are doing Ironmans. They're like Ironmans and
Crazy.
also 70.3s. They're doing triathlons.
Crazy.
They're doing ultra marathon runs. They're doing 100K runs through like everywhere. A couple of the boys are about to go over and do Moab 240,
Oh,
and yeah, like insane
Yeah.
just to see the level and the caliber of human being. But it's a full-time job just to manage the training and nutrition for that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I- it's not easy. Like a fucking Iron Man. There's a reason there was something put out, and I don't know how true it is, but they were saying that the average income of an Ironman competitor is somewhere around 180 to 200K a year.
Yeah. And that's US, by the way. So most of them are making
Yeah, yeah,
like good coin. You know what I mean? So that's the only way it works for most people. Um, it's funny you actually say this because one of my best mates, I was with him on the weekend. He's signed up to do an Ironman. Um, and I was chatting with him about it, and he's done a couple triathlons before, so he's not unfamiliar with the territory. But I was just chatting with him. I'm like, so how do you plan on? So I don't coach swimming or cycling. I'm very clear about that to anyone that that reaches out to me. I'm like, I'm not an Ironman coach. I understand how it works, but it's not my thing. There's definitely better coaches out there for you. My mate and I were talking, and I give him pointers, and he's like, how do you think I go about, training for this Ironman thing? I'm like, dude, you got to get a coach, first of all, a proper coach, I reckon. And I
mm,
don't think you realize that how much you're going to need to train. Like most of these guys are doing 2 to 3 sessions a day, most days of the week. And it's
yep,
funny because I'm talking to him, and he got married recently. His wife is sitting next to him, and she's like, oh, so like, when does he get time off? I'm like, to be honest, there's not much time off in the lead up to training for an Ironman. His time off is his training for the most part. And I don't think he'd run
yeah,
this by her at the time. And she was like a little bit taken aback by it. And it wasn't like I was throwing him under the bus, but I think, he's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have like thought this through a bit more. He'll do it. He'll be fine. I know he'll be all good, and his missus is great. Like they'll have no issues. But it's more so just realizing how much of a commitment this is. And then even in my case, when I get ready for races, like I always run it by my missus before I sign up for anything, because people don't realize like when you're training hard for something, you need to also make sure your calendar's free. And if you have a partner, it means you're going to have to tell them, hey, sorry, babe, I probably can't go to that thing, or I don't think I'm going to eat out. Like I'll eat before we go. Like little things like this all start to add up, and that's where it's like, oh,
uh,
this sucks. Like you got to double think everything, or
uh,
you got to plan ahead for everything. And that includes having people in the household that you're in sometimes on board, because they need to understand what you're going to do and why you're saying no to so many things, or whatever it is, why you're running on a Sunday morning for 4 hours. And it's like, sorry,
yeah,
I was busy.
yeah. That dude, 100%. I think that is a completely underestimated and underrated aspect of it is the community toll. Like it is a toll. And I was fortunate enough, I guess, to learn a little bit more about this through powerlifting. And I saw what it took for the elite level lifters and the level of commitment they have to make. And being involved in sports my entire life, I've seen what it takes to actually be at that level, to commit to that degree. And it is a lot of, sorry, I can't make this event. Sorry, I can't do that. Sorry, I've actually got this. Or back when I was powerlifting, I was like, oh, I can't come to your birthday because I've got deadlifts that day and I'm 4 weeks
Yeah.
out and I actually can't miss
Yeah.
this session. It's the
Yeah.
exact same thing with this running and all the rest of it, like especially for Ironman competitors and stuff like that. But you hit the nail on the head before when you kind of said that it is a little bit more sensationalized from social media. And we are starting to see this rise of people who do genuinely just see it as, oh, okay, well, these guys are all running marathons at 4 minute 30 paces. Oh, that must be easy. I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not actually understand the level of commitment that takes to. And these guys might have, they might be, and especially for us, like heavier lifters, heavier boys, they're like fucking 70 kilos, 75 kilos. Yeah, they're kind of just streamlined. Like it makes sense that these guys are running these paces for
Yeah.
this time. You
Yeah,
factor
it
in
does.
15 to 20 kilos extra of tissue, whether that is muscle or even fat, depending upon the person's body composition. It's a fucking big ask for a lot of these things.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's so hard. Yeah, as you know now doing it, and it's exhausting, man. And a lot of people underestimate that as well, just how much soreness you experience. And oh, why aren't I progressing like that guy that's 65 kilos? Or that dude that lives in Bali and is like shredded and only trains full time. And you know what I mean? It's like there's so many factors here that are impeding your progress unless you decide to drop 20 kilos and live the life that they live, which is basically, doing nothing other than training and eating acai bowls. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to get to that pace in that time frame, or get that sub 3 hour marathon. And given that this is your first year running, I go, you're asking for a lot. We need to be a little bit more realistic here, because you're comparing yourself to people who have either completely different lives to you or have been doing this for way longer. And I think
Uh,
like I haven't been running for a long period of time, so I can't really comment on this, but I bet like some of the elite level runners who have really been about this for way longer before it was cool, you know what I mean, are probably looking at everyone else behind them right now, like just turning over like, oh, how dare they think that this is easy? I've been doing this for so long, like, you know what I mean? They kind of look back and like feel disrespected.
yeah, they've committed their life to this pursuit, and
Yeah.
it's sort of been it's
Yeah.
been shit on a little bit because social media is just like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going to go do this, and I
Yeah.
took a pretty big interest. Not that I have any interest in ever doing one, but in ultra marathon runners, and
Yeah.
more so just to learn the mentality around them and things like that. Like watching a couple guys on YouTube and talking to a few of the guys at the gym and stuff like that, because it really was like just understanding the mindset that they have to be able to facilitate doing these things. And they've spoken to me about, this whole rise and this whole shift in people's perception of what's possible. And they think it's a great thing that people think it's possible, but they then say that they just so underestimate what you need to do to be able to do it. Like for them to be able to go and do like 100K ultra marathon through the fucking bush, trail running, that's a 2 day thing, 3 day thing. These people are not going to be able to get away with doing, an hour of running a week and a bit of the time on the bike that they kind of think they
Yeah.
can. And exactly that, like that lifestyle. You watch some of the dudes I watch on just YouTube and shit, just watching videos. I'm like, these guys are training 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Some of the elite level high rocks guys, they're on 3, 4 times a week. They're doing like 3, 4 days, 3, 4 sessions a day. They're doing like 5, 6, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even I'm just like,
Yeah.
bro, I don't have the fucking time for that. I've got a
Yeah. It's
life.
hard. It's too much. Yeah. 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 I don't know, man. But yeah, especially with the ultra thing, I would love to do an ultra, but I think for bigger dudes anyway, the ultra is, or any like extremely long distance event. I don't know if it's about just doing it that's hard, but definitely like fueling yourself for it is probably one of the harder things. And yeah, it's just one of those hills that I'm yet to conquer. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I've pushed my limit to a marathon a couple times before, and that was absolute hell. So I've kind of stuck to everything 21 Ks and below for the most part, just because it's easier to be able to balance a lifestyle around it, both in terms of like just social life and stuff, or at least having some life left in me, and then also still lifting. But otherwise, whenever you train, for me anyway, training for those events would require such a big sacrifice from the lifting front in order to make it work. And then such a big sacrifice on like the social life and everything else outside of the gym front to make it work, that it's just been too far of a stretch for me at the moment. But shout out to everyone that can do it though. Like, yeah, good on them. Even the people that are just giving it a crack because they want to do something hard, I appreciate you. Although the veteran ultra runners, I don't think they have the same appreciation for you when you've got your camera out in their face when they're just when they're trying to run and they're like, get this shit out of here. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw on socials recently, there was a bunch of shit with the Sunshine Coast Marathon. Um,
Oh yeah, I did see
Bunch of
that.
boys, they jumped in, they had fucking like electric
Camera
bikes and
crew.
they were
Yeah.
filming. They had a camera crew. Turns out one of the guys they were filming wasn't actually even entered in the race. He just jumped in at the
Yeah.
last minute just to do it. Like all of that sort of shit. I'm not for any of that.
Same.
I think having people psychologically think that they are more capable than they are is a good thing, because it will push them to do harder things. It's the same thing we saw with the 4 minute mile. It's the same thing you see in powerlifting when you realize that someone in your weight class can lift 20 kilos heavier than you. You're like, okay, fuck. Like if it's possible, it's possible. I can do it. And they kind of work their way towards it. But it is a sacrifice. It is understanding like all of these things take time. It's all, understanding the limits. And as you said, like you're more keen to do 21Ks and below. And I think that in itself, like creating that balance and that lifestyle and all the rest of it, because I want to touch on what you've just done recently, if you want to share a bit about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really encapsulate, and this is a conversation I've had with a lot of people since entering the hybrid space, coming from the strength powerlifting background. There's not a lot of guys who have come from strength powerlifting. It's oftentimes the runners that have then started doing a little bit more weight training, a little bit more like compound lifts and stuff, that are claiming the hybrid lifestyle. So they're fit as fuck, they can run for ages, and then they're lifting what would be considered, and this is no disrespect to them, it's just it, when you work and are around powerlifters and some of the most elite level lifters in Australia, your perception of strong is so fucking skewed. It's just
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
skewed.
Yeah. 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 It's like, unless it's 300 plus, dude, like, please, which is, yeah, which sounds arrogant as, but and look, the elite level runners are probably, they think the same about pretty much everyone else who's, just trying to get a sub 3 hour marathon or a sub 90 minute
Mm,
half marathon. They're probably looking at them like, oh, it's not that fast. But, again, exactly. You and I come from a strength background. So what we determine as strong is definitely skewed. In fact, I was
mm,
watching, I don't know, some video of like these highlights from one of the competitions in the US where one of the big dudes, I forgot his name. He just looks like a fridge. The guy was squatting like 470. And I was like, this is just 470 kilos, not pounds, in case anyone's listening in the States, which is just unfathomable amount of weight to have on a bar, let
mm.
alone on your back. And he got it. And it was just, yeah. Anyway, a tangent, but yeah, your perception of strength is definitely skewed from a powerlifting point of view when you've come from strength training background.
Oh, exactly that. And I've really had to try and like rein that in when I've been doing, especially even just from the shift in my own training, looking at weights I'm lifting now versus what I was and things like that. I'm like, oh fuck, okay. I used to bench this for sets of 5. Now I'm getting it for 1 to 2, but I'm like, okay, I'm 30 kilos lighter. I'm running. I
Yeah.
can jump. I'm not worried about my hamstring. I can sleep without a CPAP. Like it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
life's
Yeah.
good in that regards.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on the challenge you set yourself recently that you set
Yeah.
out, because I think it's really fucking cool. So give us a
Yeah.
bit of an insight into that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll kind of start from the start. At the start of this year, I knew I wanted to just do something hard. Like as in, maybe I was thinking of like an ultra run or whatever. And I was like, one of these things would be cool, but I wanted to try and find something that would kind of bring together, lifting and running. Unfortunately, there's not really many lifting and running events other than I think Melbourne had push pull run for a little bit. There was a gym here in Sydney that ran that event once, but there was nothing really that's kind of official. So I just decided at the start of the year that I just want to see if I can do something cool. And I was like, okay, I can deadlift and my running is getting good. So I want to see if I can deadlift 300 and then try and run a sub 90 half marathon back to back. I had deadlifted 300 before when I was just kind of doing powerlifting, but I hadn't done it when I was running, and I had never run a sub 90 half marathon at the time. So I was like, you know what? I want to do these two things on the same day. I want to make it as official as possible in case someone wants to replicate it. So I decided I'll do it at a track. I booked a track down near me. There's a 400-meter track there, the athletics track, near me in South Sydney, and booked it out, booked the date, and I'm like, you know what? If you're really going to do it, you need to post about it on the internet. And then I was like, okay. Then I got to think of a name. So then I'm like, okay, let's call it Project 300 Sub 90. So essentially, it is a 300 kilo deadlift going straight into a sub 90 half marathon. And where did I get the idea from is I know there's been a lot of like push pull kind of run events. There's that guy in the States, I forgot his name, who's got like the 220 deadlift and then the sub,
Fergus
I think,
Crowley.
yeah, or whatever it is, mile afterwards. I don't know what he's done. It's something like that, 5 minute or 6 minute mile. I don't know how fast that is.
So
Um,
there's another guy who I think his name's actually Mike as well, and there's another
yeah, it
guy named
is. I know
Fergus
Fergus.
Crowley.
Yeah,
Fergus's one was a 500-pound deadlift into a sub 25K,
right.
and then the other Mike guy is his was a sub 5 minute mile or something like that. He went
And the
to try and push
220
it
and
again the other
500.
day.
Yeah. And a
Yep,
500
yep,
deadlift as well. Yeah. So I knew that
correct.
those were out there, those events. But look, like you just said, when you've come from a strength training background, your objective of strong is a little bit skewed. Not taking anything away from the 500-pound deadlift that either of those two dudes did, but I was like, 500-pound, like 220, like it's not really strong, is it? Like in
Mm.
a wider sense, I wanted to do something that would at least be respected amongst strength athletes, right? So I'm like 300 should hopefully do the job at 91, 92 kilos is what I weighed on the day. I'm like, hopefully that is at least respected. I'm not saying it is groundbreaking, but at least respected. And then I thought, okay, sub 90 half marathon. Again, an elite level runner probably looks at me as like, whatever, dude. But I know for most people, getting a sub 90 half marathon is something that a lot of runners try to achieve. I think the sub 90 half marathon pace is 4:16 or 4:15. I forgot.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I was like, okay, I want to try and do those two things back to back. At least they're both respectable in terms of weight and or speed. One, obviously, like it gives me something to train towards. Two, it kind of allows me to show people that I think you can lift and run, at a relatively high level or relatively decent level, and do both of them to somewhat respectable, like, levels again. And then the last one is I was like, I feel like this would also be good for business if I managed to do this, because people will be like, oh, this guy can do something. He clearly knows what he's doing. We should work with him. So like, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't also some monetary thing in the back of my head that's like, hey, people might actually notice you a little bit more if you do this. Like, you should go ahead and do it. So I'll be lying if I said that wasn't also part of the motivation. So I would say those three things were kind of the reason why I did it. So long story short, I'm rambling a little bit here, but it was called Project 300 Sub 90. I gave it a crack. I think, what's today's date? About 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Pretty much trained for the better part of 6-ish months for it. I had a few other half marathons before this day. I managed to hit the sub 90 half marathon about 2 months out, which was awesome. And then it was just a matter of maintaining my fitness in the lead up and then also building up my deadlift during that time. Managed to get a 280 deadlift on the day. I didn't get the 300 after 2 attempts, primarily because I think my positioning hasn't felt good at all in the lead up to the event. My confidence wasn't high on my deadlifts whatsoever. And I got in my head quite a little bit on the day, but for the most part, I did the 280. It felt pretty good. 300, I couldn't lock it out. So after that, went into the sub 90 half marathon, and I did that around the track, which is 400 meters. I think it was 53 and a half or 52 and a half laps around the track. And I had some other people there helping me time it and, like doing it all on the ball. Like, we tried to make it as legit as we literally could. So someone else was timing it and I was obviously doing it off my watch at the same time. And yeah, and from what I know right now, I think it is probably the strongest deadlift half marathon that there's been. Until someone beats it, there'll probably be some 16-year-old who just, does like 320 and then does a 75-minute half marathon or something and completely blows me out of the water. But for now, I think it's probably one of the better attempts at some kind of hybrid challenges that is out there.
It's always a fucking 16-year-old every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Some random 17-year-old in Latvia just does some crazy shit. And you're like, all right, that's me. I'm over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always funny. But that in itself, like, I love the fact that you have actually, and I know you mentioned with relation to like the deadlift goal, and you're like, not taking away from the guys who have done the 500-pound and things like that. But that was my exact mindset as well, was 220-kilo deadlift for me is like, I could go in tomorrow every day of the week and just do that. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
something that's challenging, like actually going to
Yeah.
push me a little bit. And given I have deadlifted 300 a couple of times, I was like, well, anything less than that, if I was to set it to, 285 or 290, it's like, it just doesn't sound as cool as
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
300.
The 300 sells so much better. It sounds so much cooler, which is why I'm still burning that I missed it. But yeah, it sounds way cooler if you do that, for sure.
Do you reckon you'd have another crack at it?
Yeah, I think I will. But just doubling back a little bit to what we mentioned before, it's a lot of people don't like the event itself on the day was hard. Like running around the track was terrible. Like I hated every second of it. But the hardest
Mm.
thing was in the months leading up to it. Like I was so on with my training and lifestyle. Like there was so many sacrifices I had to make in my social life. Like I run my own business. I have my own studio that I'm running as well. I have someone that works with me. So there's other people that rely on me. I've got like staff. So like doing all of these things, then still trying to be like a good partner to my fiance, like all of this was it like that was hard, and it took away from, there were social outings I said no to. There were so many things that I said no to that I just don't want to have to say no to things for a little while before locking in to either do that again or do another event again. So to answer your question, will I do it? Will I give it another crack? I'm almost certain that I will. When though? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it'll be this year realistically. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Unless someone beats me and then I just get angry and I'll do it, because spitefulness is probably the easiest way to go about it. But otherwise, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool in itself. Like, I think one of those things is like having actively working towards something to that caliber, and whether you achieve it or you don't, it's still one of the things that like you can't take away the hard work, the sacrifice, the commitment that you've made to that goal. And that's where I found, especially within powerlifting, you would have been the same, is like so many times people have these preconceived notions in their head of what they're going to total on the day. And sometimes it just doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
Something just sleeps off or food's off or just the strength just isn't there on the day. And that is powerlifting. We all accept that. We all know that. It's just one of those things. And that's something I had to sort of come to terms with when I set this sort of like the challenge for myself was, okay, well, what is it like, I want to set myself a hard enough challenge that's going to be fucking difficult to achieve, but I also don't want to turn around and be like, become depressed because I don't fucking, if I just happen to not get it, like I still think the challenge and the art of the journey of working towards that and simultaneously trying to do a sub 25K, yourself is like, it's fast. It's a very
Mm,
fast pace.
yeah.
And balancing that with weights and like strength to the degree I'm trying to with the deadlift and things like that, like it's a lot of moving parts and moving systems, and some weeks are just having to adapt on the fly.
Yeah. 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 Endless adapting, endless planning. Um, and like the thing is, like we make it all sound like, I know I've probably made it sound like really hard in terms of doing a lot of these things, but it's not hard if you don't care about how good you go. Like some of my clients just do half marathons or whatever it is, and like they actually enjoy the whole process and it's fine. um but I think someone, maybe you're the same, is like I tend to like ruminate about these things a lot, and I want everything to be perfect, because I'm like, okay, if I have all of these skills and knowledge, why am I not going to apply all of them? And if I'm going to apply all of
Mm.
them, I need to do all of them right. So that means then I need to make sure that, I'm eating X amount of calories, making sure I'm timing this. Okay, I'm going to train at this time, and then I got to train again that afternoon, but I'll train, in this gap between clients, because I know I'll feel better than if I do it earlier. And like you're continuously doing these micromanaging things all the time, and it just gets, look, I don't know, I sound like a sook, but there's no way to do it that it doesn't get tiring.
No,
Unless
I don't
someone,
think you sound like a sook. It's
yeah,
sorry, I was just it doesn't sound like you're being a sook. It just sounds like you're being realistic. And I think that that's
yeah,
something that we probably need more of that. I genuinely think at the moment within, like even within my own training and things like that, like we do probably need more people who are a little bit more realistic. And it's not to shit on other people or rain on their parade or anything like that, but it is sometimes just being like, hey, you can do these things. As you said, I got clients as well. I got one of my clients, she's about to go over to do the Chicago Marathon. For her, it's just quite literally, she's just stoked to be going to do the marathon.
yeah,
She doesn't care about her time.
yeah. That's so
And I've
cool.
got other clients, yeah, it's like, that's a big event. And I got other clients who are just like, man, if I can sometime in my life do a half marathon, I'm happy. I don't care.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
sick.
yeah, yeah. It's a shame, because like some people don't get that enjoyment out of those events anymore. Like I have a rule with all of my clients that do their first race: we don't care about how you go. Like, I just want you to go there and do it. Like, don't, I know you have a goal of what pace you want and la 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 in mind. And yes, leave that stuff to me. I'll organize all that. But I want you, most of all, as my client going into your first race, to enjoy the fact that you're doing your first race and that you're doing something you've never done before. And I do the same with my guys that still do powerlifting when they go to their first comp. I'm like, obviously we have numbers in mind, but this is your first comp. Like, how can we have any expectations as to how we want this to go when in reality, this is so different to anything we've done before. You've never competed before. Why are we setting benchmarks on something that we have nothing else to measure off? Let's just go in it, give it our best crack and see what happens. And the same thing goes with runs. It's like, don't take away from the fact that you've trained for such a long time that you're going to put your mind on a number, that you have to be like, oh, if my first half marathon is in under 2 hours, it's not worthy of being proud of. It's like, dude, you never even ran a kilometer 6 months ago. Like, all right, let's just put that into perspective for a second and let's just appreciate that. Like, don't take away from what you've done by getting so fixated on this, time or number that you have to lift on the day, whatever it is that you're detracting from all of the hard work that you put into in order to get here. And I fall into this trap myself sometimes where even after I did the 280 and then the sub 90 thing the other week, for a little bit, I was still cut at the fact that I didn't get the 300. But then I was like, look, you took a risk. It was going to happen or not, and that's it. And you just got to crack on with it. But yeah, you just got to appreciate the fact that it was all that hard work leading up to it and the fact that you gave it a go in the first place that probably in some ways, very philosophical right now, matters a little bit more than, not giving it a try at all, really. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's always about the journey, not the destination. If you want to get real
Yeah.
philosophical.
Yeah.
But no, I think honestly, I think that's genuinely like it's a fucking good frame. It's a good mindset to have. Always expect better of yourself, and you kind of address this. And I am someone who does always expect to do well, but it's not an unfounded expectation. It's come from years of doing the thing, setting my mind, achieving the goal.
Mm.
Has there been detours and shit along the way? Yeah, okay. But for the most part, like when I set my mind to something, I will do everything within my power to try and achieve that, like whatever that outcome is. And having that high expectation on yourself, it shows you care, but it also shows a higher level of self-worth and self-belief. It's like because
Yeah.
you feel worthy enough to actually be able to achieve these things. And I don't think anybody would set out to achieve half the things they do if there wasn't some like inbuilt system within themselves of just wanting to do better and wanting to do more and wanting to keep improving on themselves.
Yeah. I'm all, yeah. Everyone needs to do something hard, man. I think that is definitely, I think one of the key takeaways with any of this for me is like, I appreciate people that just want to do something hard or just give something or step out of their comfort zone. Sorry, is a better way to put it. Like, let your nuts hang, like go do something that you've never done before. Go put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and just, throw yourself out there, see what happens. And if you've got a goal, awesome. But if you also don't get it, who cares? You did something you've literally never done before. You can appreciate, or you should be able to appreciate that as well, hopefully. And if you don't, that's okay. But, that can be quite toxic in itself.
Yeah. What do you say, like, say, for example, with your clients and things like that, like you probably work with quite a mixed bag of people similar to myself. I know you've kind of touched on like that their first race, their first events and things like that. There's no preconceived idea. It's like go in, have a fucking crack, see what you come up with. What do you reckon the lowest hanging fruit for a lot of these people and even people who are just interested in the hybrid sort of style of training in general? What would you say is like the lowest hanging fruit for them to get started in that?
As in like, what should they be doing? Like, what are some of like the basic things they should be doing?
Whether it's like the most basic thing they should be doing or just even just like a mindset shift or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think the lowest hanging fruit thing for me is just do it. Like, don't talk about doing it. Don't think you need to buy a watch to do it. Don't think you have to get the perfect program to do it. Don't think you have to sign up a race to do it, or whatever it is. Just do it. Like, if you want to start running, put on any fucking shoes you have. Who cares? and go find a park near you or go out the front of your house and start running, and just do that until you don't want to run anymore. Go as slow or as fast as you like, and then come home. That's it. Like, it doesn't need to be more complicated than that in the beginning. And if you liked it, say to yourself, in 2 or 3 days time, I'm going to do that again, and then see what happens the next time you do it, and then do it again. And then after you've been doing that for a few weeks, then now you might want to start to think about, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, maybe I do want to get a good pair of shoes, or maybe I do want to figure out, maybe there's a little bit of a program that I can download, or, someone's got a free thing online, or maybe I should look at that template that Coach Mike posted for free, and maybe I'll just follow that for the first couple of weeks. Whatever it is, like, just then you can start thinking about that. But I think the easiest thing is just do the thing. Don't overcomplicate just doing the thing. Just take it down to its rawest form, its most childlike form. You want to go for a run, go outside and fucking run, and that's it. Or do it on a treadmill after your workouts. Whatever it is, you just have to do it first, and then you can worry about complicating it later. Then worry about what race you want to do, what shoes you should buy, what running clothes or tights you should wear. Do all that later. Just run for now and just see what happens after that.
Yeah. What Garmin you going to go and buy?
Yeah. Like, what Apple Watch, smart, like, just run, dude. Who cares? And I think that's honestly one of the things that made it enjoyable for me in the beginning, is because, not to toot my horn or say that I was an early adopter, because I wasn't early in the sense like I started it. I don't mean that, but there wasn't really as much of a craze over running clothes or watches, or like Strava hadn't really taken off yet. Like, it was a little bit before the Strava trend. So I actually had no idea what Strava even was, or, that half marathons was such a thing that was going to be so popular. I was just so like blind to that, the ecosystem I was in. So I was just running. Literally, like I said, I just put whatever clothes I had on, whatever shoes I had on that I was going for a walk in that day, and I would just run. And then there was nothing to compare to. There was nothing that could be taken away from it, because all I was doing was running for 5 minutes. And then when I finished that run, I'm like, oh, that was good. I said to my missus, I think I want to try for 6 minutes when we run later this week. She's like, good, okay, do that. And that was it. So it was literally as simple as that, which then made it easy for me to then create a habit out of. But I feel like, had I made it any more complicated and created all of these barriers to make it work, that it would have been something that I never adopted in the beginning anyway.
Yeah. The barriers to entry is such a big one. I've got clients who are like, oh, I've just started running. Should I go buy carbon plated shoes? And I'm just like, fuck no, absolutely not. To be fair, I bought carbon plated shoes long before I should have. And that's only because I went to the fucking Nike DFO factory, and they had the flame Lightning McQueen version ones that I loved. And they were for like $80. I was like, they're $80. I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy these. I'm fucking barely going to wear them, but I'm going to buy them. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's that barrier to entry is people seem to think they need all the gear, and they need all this, and they need all that. And running is probably the easiest and cheapest fitness thing to just start. Because as you said, walk out the front of your house, jog to the end of your street. If you think you can jog to the next end of that street, jog there. And then just do that again and again, and continue to do that and build it up. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
It's just starting.
Yeah, just start it. Don't complicate it. Don't worry about the heart rate zone bullshit that you see on the internet. Like, don't worry about any of that. Like, just do it. Like, just do the thing and then complicate it later. Or even better, if you do want to complicate it, get a coach who then can simplify it for you. So then you don't need to think about all that complicated stuff. You just do whatever they tell you to do.
You mentioned something funny there. I want to touch on that because I've seen you put some stuff out. The zones, zone two is seen as the epitome of what people need to do. And I guess that has come from the top down, where like the elite level runners who are running a stupid amount of Ks per week, they probably do need to spend a fair bit of time in zone 2.
Yeah.
But Sally, who's been on the couch for 20 years and has never really run far at all, probably doesn't need to spend 80% of her week in zone 2.
Yeah. Sally's probably in zone 2 when she's taking a shit. So like why even worry about it? Just fucking go. Yeah. I think like a lot of that came from and it's accurate in some ways. Elite level runners or triathletes, they'll do a lot of their running in zone 2, primarily because it allows them to accumulate more volume with less fatigue. But when you're someone who's our size, 80, 90 kilos plus, your legs are still carrying the weight. You're probably still accumulating as much fatigue as you are potentially when you're running fast. And the difference is that you probably aren't getting any faster or fitter for it. If you just chose to run a little bit faster, you're probably going to get similar adaptations. Now, this is for people that are usually in that beginner to intermediate stages of their running journey. Just go out there and just do whatever. But I think definitely there is some value to it as you progress later down the track and you become a little bit more of if you do make it to like an elite level, standard or whatever it is that's out there. But for the vast majority of people, worrying about zones, I feel like for most of the time that I see prevents them from running or doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. As opposed to just going out there and just running slow, getting a feel for what an easy run feels like to them, regardless of what your heart rate says. My watch right now says my heart rate is, where is it? It's not that high. It says 62. But earlier when I was walking, it said my heart rate was 110 and I was walking. There's been times that I've gone for a run and my heart rate is 120. Then there's been times when I've gone for a run and that same pace that I was doing that was 120 is now 170 for whatever reason, who knows? And it's like, if I literally listened to whatever wearable I was doing or tried to track my heart rate every time I'd run, my runs would be all over the place. And I feel like it would probably prevent me from progressing ultimately. Most people just need to start running. And as you get fitter and your running volume increases dramatically and you kind of get to a point where, you can actually keep your heart rate down and run at the same time, then maybe you can start to consider heart rate zones. But even then, I feel like most people just need to use a rating out of 10. Is it hard? Is it easy? Am I doing a lot of running this week? Am I not? If I'm not doing a lot of running, then maybe I should do a little bit more hard stuff. If I'm doing a lot of running this week, then I'll do a little bit less hard stuff. It really doesn't need to get more complicated than that, to me anyway.
No, I agree 100%. And the fact that half the time wearables, especially on the wrist, when you factor in sweat and movement and GPS and all the rest of it, they can be just so fucking crazily inaccurate.
Yeah, and you've got tattoos on your wrist as well. I can see you've got some on your hands.
Correct.
You have some on your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you've got tattoos, the infrared doesn't work as well through ink. So it's probably even an arguably worse number for you as well.
Yeah, I have found that. Unfortunately, both my wrists are tattooed. So I'm like, shit out of luck. I was like, fuck, I could have gone and bought a fucking heart rate strap. But again, similar thing. I was just like, man, I just need to run. I just need to spend more time running.
Yeah.
What does it feel like when it's hard? What does it feel like if I do slow down? What is it like? All of these different things, and just built my base through that. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when I get a new client and sometimes so I've worked with a couple clients who know nothing about heart rate zones. And then I've got some who are like, so into it that they think everything, oh, coach, what zone should I be in? La, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, easy just means I don't give a shit. I just want you to run easy. Whatever feels easy for you on the day is the pace or zone that you should be in. And that's it. And sometimes I won't even give them a pace for their faster or harder runs. I go, I want you to just run at what feels hard on this particular day. And that's kind of it. And they still progress. And they're like, oh, Matt, I managed to get, a 5K PB when we did that time trial. And it's like, yeah, and I have never given you a heart rate zone to worry about. Like, it's like you can still make very good progressions, particularly those that are in that beginner to intermediate stage with, just kind of feeling out, what is hard and what is easy before you complicate it with zones or pace and all that kind of stuff. For the vast majority of people, just running more often and frequently is going to do the majority of your fitness improvements as opposed to, anything zone or pace wise.
100%. What do you find is with relation to like strength training or just weight training in general plus running, what do you find is probably the most common thing you see with people within that realm? Is it doing too much? Is it worry too much about fatigue? Where are you at?
Yeah. So obviously because with the research, with the surgence of like, half marathons and all that kind of stuff is a lot of these people were coming from backgrounds where they already trained in the gym. Maybe they played, casual sport with their friends, but they didn't really have much of a running background. So what they've done is they've gone and they've taken their gym program, and then they've gone and slapped a running program on top that they either downloaded from an app like Runner or, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever they've used. They've gone and just slapped that on top of whatever their running program is. And then often they wonder why they feel like shit, or they're like, oh, I'm not getting any faster, or, I'm getting weaker in the gym. I feel smaller, like blah, blah, blah. Like that's usually one of the most common ones or like, now they've got an injury. God forbid that happens to them, but sometimes they'll get injuries that pop up. And it's like, ChatGPT has increased your running volume by 10% every week for the past 10 weeks. And when you've started at like, 4 kilometers, it doesn't seem like much in the beginning, but then that 10% increase keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every week. And it's like, you've gone from running not at all to running 30, 40 Ks a week within the first 2 months of running. No wonder why you're fucked. Like you had no time to develop either enough fitness yet or tissue tolerance to be able to handle that. And now, unfortunately you have to pull back in order to be able to do anything else. That will be a common one. Otherwise it's just, a lot of people still think that just running is going to make them immediately small, immediately small, or on the flip side, lifting is going to immediately make them slower, which, taken in isolation, potentially both of them can do those things. But if you balance them well and, you have some structure to your training week, or ideally, you're still eating well and all that kind of stuff, you can negate most of these, quote unquote interference like symptoms that you can get. But yeah, it does get hard when you've just gone and taken, your typical, push pull legs or, upper lower gym program. And then you've just gone, okay, I'm going to run on top of that now. That you're not asking for a good time. It'll work for a little while, but eventually you'll realize, oh, fuck, I'm maybe going backwards now. That's one of the things that I see most commonly. And then just to add on to that, I think one of the things a lot of people get wrong is they assume that they just become hybrid overnight. I think one of the aspects of hybrid training is like you go from, most people are either just runners or just lifters. Most of the people I work with have come from a lifting background, and then they want to get into hybrid training and they think, oh, we're just going to start running now straight away. And we're going to start doing a hybrid program immediately. But like I always try to get people I work with we're evolving into a hybrid program. So we're slowly progressing into getting you to run more, but we're not just going to change your entire program from doing, primarily strength-based stuff to now doing strength and running together. We're gonna slowly skew it. So maybe we're doing 80% lifting and 20% running. And then we're going to go 70% lifting and then 30% running. And then we kind of work our way to something that's a little bit more 50-50 if that's the direction they want to go in. But it makes no sense to go, immediately 50-50 when they've been doing 100%, strength training their whole career. So anyway, the slow evolution is something that I think most people need to do as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's biding your time, and I hate to say, like, it's earning your stripes to a degree, because exactly that. It's tissue tolerance and things like that. And one thing that I guess learning through trial by fire myself, by dealing with shin splints to the degree that I did, it made me just say to like some of my clients who have wanted to make similar transitions, I'm like, hey, look, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, this is what happened to me when I just decided to run on top of all the weight training I was doing. And it didn't end well. And it sucked. And shin splints fucking suck. They're the worst thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And I don't want that for anyone. So I'm like, I might seem like I'm potentially like making this a slower transition for you, but I can promise you right now, in 6 months' time, you're going to be thanking me.
Yeah.
When you're not beat up and fucked.
Yeah. And like people assume that you always need more to improve. And even like, people that are a bit more experienced make this same mistake. In fact, I have myself, but sometimes you don't need more to improve. You just need repeated weeks of the same thing. Or like if you're someone who's gone from no running whatsoever, anything more than no running is going to get you some kind of adaptation in the right direction. So we don't need to do a heap. We just need to do like a little bit. and then maybe a little bit more in a couple weeks time. But we don't need to just continuously add all the time. It's like you've gone from doing literally no running at all to, we can make good progress running once a week right now. Like, and we can do that for a little while. And then when that slows down a bit, then maybe we'll add another small session, and then we'll keep building that one up. And then we, slowly pivot a little bit more that way if that's what we want to do. But yeah, people just assume, oh, if I'm going to run, I got to run heaps. It's like, no, dude, like you've never run. So we could get away with, 500 meters at the start of each gym session will be enough to improve your fitness right now. That's literally the level you're at. And then we're going to do that for a little bit, and then we can build from there. Yeah.
Less is more. Less is
Yeah.
definitely more often than not.
Yeah.
I mean, same with powerlifting and stuff too. People want to go never having done squat, bench, deadlift, and they want to be squatting 3 times a week and running small level or some shit and fucking benching 5 times a week. They're like, oh, my shoulders are fucked, my knees are fucked. It's like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's like, bro, 3 sets of 8 was going to work for you as much as 3 sets of 1 was, because you're just not. You don't need it yet. Like, there's no need. Let's just take our time here. What's the big deal? You've got no muscle on your frame. We've got plenty of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? The rest of this year and things like that. Any other events?
Look, right now I have nothing booked. My goal as of this very second is because I spent probably the last 6 months focusing on lifting. Focusing on running. I do want to focus a little bit more on lifting over at least the next couple months. So right now I'm just trying to put on a little bit more size. My body weight's a bit heavier. I've gained about 3 or 4 kilos since I did Project 300 sub 90. So just enjoying gaining a little bit of muscle. I would say running for the most part is on maintenance. I've gone from running 70 Ks a week to, I think last week I did 31 Ks, which is a big drop, obviously, but I'm just enjoying not having niggles in my ankles all the time. Getting my strength back in the gym, putting on size again. So I just want to do this for a little bit before I kind of lock anything in. Will I do something though this year? I don't know. My partner doesn't want me to do anything. She's a little bit against me doing another competition or race right now because she's enjoying having me and being able to go out to eat and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like in a few weeks' time, I may get a little bit bored and decide to do something. I even said to her yesterday, I'm like a little bit itchy. I'm like, I'm enjoying this. I am having a good time right now, but I do feel like I need something at least at the end of the year. So who knows? I don't know. Do I go up one more to what I did? Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep you posted when I decide.
Yeah, sick. I'm keen to see it. Where can people find you? Socials, things like that. Where's the best place?
Honestly, yeah. The best thing is Instagram at Hybrid Coach Mike. And then if you want, I've also got a YouTube channel. I've got my own podcast. But at Hybrid Coach Mike is my Instagram. And then you can access me on all channels from there. That's pretty much it. Coaching, whatever you want, I'm all there.
Sweet. I'll definitely throw all that in the show notes and things like that as well. But before we wrap up today, I got 3 questions that I ask every single guest. So strap in. But first question is, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Wow, that's a good one. If you can tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? I would say just do the thing that you're probably scared of, which for me was, even beginning as a coach, I was scared to do it. And then when I eventually did it, you kind of end up getting that snowball effect afterwards, but there was so much mental barriers to jump through for me to even do that. So I would say do the thing that you're most scared of. Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. Your favorite animal?
My cats. I think because I love my cats. So my cats are right now going to be my favorite.
Yeah. How many cats do you have?
I've got two.
Yeah. Awesome.
Two, yeah.
See, no one said cats yet. That's cool.
Yeah. You know what it is as well? After owning cats, you come to admire the fact that they can sleep for 20 hours, yet can easily scale a wall and get themselves in the most ridiculous spots and the most elite athletic capacity you've ever seen in your life by doing nothing but sleeping. And it's like, I just admire them for what they're able to do. So I'm going to say my cats. they're unbelievable.
I love that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then the last but not least, what does strength mean to you?
Oh, this one could be somewhat philosophical. I would say the ability to move barriers. And the reason why I say the ability to move barriers is because they may also be physical barriers in front of you, which require physical strength, or, as I said before, doing the thing you're most scared of required me to kind of move mental barriers. So I would say in that sense, the ability to move barriers is what strength is for me.
I love that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's a good way to
Thanks,
it's a good
bro.
way to wrap us up, everyone. No, thank you. Thank you very much. As I said, everyone listening at home, I'll put all of Mike's information in the show notes. You'll be able to find him through social media and things like that as well. But my man, thank you very much for today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you, bro. I really appreciate being on here. Thanks so much.